Alrighty. We got another awesomely awesome tournament qualifier race for you coming up this evening. This is your boy LV Creed here, and we're gonna have ourselves a nice little good old time where we're gonna have ourselves quite a number of runners doing some qualifier action for you. So, for those that are not aware of what's going on, we're beginning to set up for Mega Man 2 Randomizer tournament very soon once our qualifiers are completed. But of course, we got qualifiers to do. So, who we have here once everything gets set up in the back. So, our four featured runners that we got up front are Ari Species, who has come on the scene last year, has been one of the essential people that have been joined up in the tournaments and also have been commentating a thing or two during the last year's tournament race. So we're gonna see if he can find his way to get himself up into the main brackets. So next up we got Crowell Star. You saw him last time. He pretty much put up a very solid fight, but wound up falling up short, coming up to try to get another crack at trying to get into the bracket stage. Matt Philly, we actually saw him on Thursday during the 80% stage names open. The first time we did that, and unfortunately during that time we had an unfortunate emulator crash on his end. So he's coming up back here now, hoping to try to get things going and try to make up for that very unfortunate finish. And Rin Hero, who is actually one of our veterans, one who comes across during our usual Sunday evening races and does a little bit of randomized action there. But right now, it seems like we're just about ready. Just had to make sure that everything is up on the back burner for our racers. So let's get things cracking. We pretty much just released the floodgates and we should be ready to go. Unfortunately, there will be no tracking this time. There is no tracker around for this day. We weren't able to get a tracker, and being a one-man show, trying to track four people at once and commentating, yeah, it's gonna be a pretty hefty boat. So we're gonna have to stick with a little bit of a compromise. So hope everyone's able to just keep up along with me as our four runners, including two that are behind the scenes. We got our tournament organizer Charlie Boy, who's in the back also racing, and Matt Ewalker, who was racing last time as well. And we're gonna see if he's gonna be doing his thing as well. So for this particular matchup for the qualifier rounds, we have zipless categories, so no one's gonna be doing zips, as well as stage names on. So for stage names on, you're probably going to see more of a centralized route. So as you can see, we got our species and Matt, both of them going to Quickman, while we're about to see Treble Star going to Flash. Those two stages are usually the ones that we see going on first. Hopefully Ren Hero can probably get himself going in a few moments. Probably just lagging behind a little bit. But we're gonna focus on our three runners right now. So, like I said, we got Quickman on two screens and Flash on another. Those are usually our more basic starting stages, as they are very short. They're relatively easy. Yes, even with the force beams on Quickman stage. But they also have easy to gather E-tanks, assuming there are no enemies in the way. And Crabble Star slips off of the top area of Flash, so he won't be getting his E-tank on his way to the boss room in Flash. And looks like Matt Philly wound up getting himself cut up by those quick laters as he right back to the checkpoint. And we got a Heatman sighting on in Flash's room. Ooh, getting himself a little bit cornered there. Heatman, ooh, and he's also soft Buster weak. So there are four Robot Masters that are soft weak to the Buster, and they deal 4 damage as a result. Heatman being one of those weakness, those bugs or soft weak enemies, actually a very big boon because he's one of the longest and more annoying fights to deal with. if he's not a soft weak boss, and you're probably gonna more than likely gonna be digging for weaknesses for him when you see him in the refights. So anyway, we see Crash and Ari's screen. Matt Philly's about to fall soon a little bit here. And Crash is a bit of a jumpy boy, not an aggro Crash, not spamming a lot of Crash bombs, but definitely one of those ones that's probably going to be a little bit annoying thanks to those high jumps. And of course, it's in Craig Man's room. You had to deal with the stage layout, the room layout, and had to deal with that right there. And we see that Troublestar found item 3 in Flash, and we got item 2 in Quick, so we're gonna have ourselves early items already. Look like Ren's finally got himself going. So yeah, we're just gonna have to deal with some of the lagginess on Ren Heroes in, but we are following through SRL, so we will be keeping track of Ren Heroes' progress as he continues on. But in the meanwhile, we're pretty much just dealing with a bunch of retreaded stages here. So I'm going to talk about what's randomized in the Mega Man 2 Randomizer. So basically, whatever is randomized is randomized. So bosses are randomized, as Matt Philly takes another unfortunate death to Crash. The stage layout and the stage select are randomized, which in this case is a little disorienting, but when we get to stage names hidden, that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge to deal with. But we got randomized enemies, randomized boss AI, randomized weaknesses. We got randomized attributes for our weapons. So as you can see, you saw a Troublestar trying to use heat. I didn't quite get a good glimpse of if it was charging or if it was full, or if it was already a full charge when it fires. But regardless of the matter, we got randomized attributes for our weapons here. So we got, as you can hear, we got randomized music, we got randomized colors. Just pretty much the only thing that isn't randomized is technically the general movement physics and the general stage layout, except for a couple of exceptions, which I'll talk about as the thing progresses. But anyway, we got Treble and Ari taking care of their bosses, and now we got Metal Man on a couple of stages here. Matt Philly, I think unless he game overed on Crash, he was definitely struggling on the Crash fight. He probably game overed and went straight to Crash. If not, he found his stride and beat him, and decided to go to Metal next. Meanwhile, Ari is gonna go to Bubble, which if you're done with Flash or Quick, that's usually the third boss that you probably go to. It's a stage that you really don't need items for, and especially with this being zipless, it's not going to be all that helpful in the long run. So it's definitely a basic stage to go through with probably a few E-tanks or so. So as you can see, thanks to the fact that we are zipless, you're not going to be seeing the ceiling zip from any of our runners here. Who look like we finally got Ren Hero back to stride here as he goes to Bubble Man. I'm pretty sure he already has his 2 bosses taken out, which probably would be the Quick Man and Flash Man stages. Like I said, he's the veteran of the randomizer, so he probably definitely will. Yep, he already got his item 2 and item 3. He definitely already beat those 2 stages. So it looks like we got an air sighting in Metal Man's screen. Now, this is going to be one of the more interesting fights because actually for Airman, the conveyors actually take priority over the tornadoes during the Airman fight. So if you know how to manipulate the tornadoes in conjunction with the conveyor belts, you can actually have room to actually be in a safe spot where you will never be affected by the air because the conveyor will always take precedence over any kind of physics the wind blows for Airman. Meanwhile, we got a vanilla Bubble Man in a vanilla bubble room. And I'm not going to say those words. You're going to have to pay me to say those classic generalized, randomized phrases. But look like the Leaf Shield was a pretty strong weapon against Bubble Man, as Ari was able to take him out very quickly. And he goes to Metal, while Troublestar look like he's taking out Airman, going to Bubble Man stage. So yet again, a bit of retreading of ground here. So while we are retreading said ground, unless Ren Hero decides to go to a different stage, and he does go to metal as well. I'm going to talk about what version 6.0, 0.6, I mean, has in comparison to in the past, and a lot of those are just a lot of quality of life aspects. So first of all, for those that are very sensitive to flashing lights, a majority of the flashing, they're all gone. You will never see any kind of flashing in the randomizer. So like those, when you destroy a Wally boss, especially like the Mega Dragon, for example, it will never do that very annoying flashing. So for those with those kind of disabilities, you can play the randomizer now with those flashings gone. And as we go through Bubble Man stage, we actually removed all the underwater lag from Bubble Man stage, so you can actually go through the area without any issue as far as underwater lag goes. Sprite lag, on the other hand, that's still a thing. No, the flashing is pretty much independent of the lag. So the only lag that's pretty much going to be affected as far as the game goes is pretty much sprite lag and all the sprite limit stuff. So if you get a high number of sprites, you're still going to have to experience that kind of lag. It's pretty much just this weird case of how the people behind Mega Man 2 just happen to add lag in the water. So the people that took up the randomizer as Duckfish pretty much handed over the reins to the community. They found that for some reason they had a separate bit of lag in the water, and as a result, once we removed all the lag that was based in the water, you can just move normally, as you can see Matt Philly on screen right now is doing. So with that spiel out of the way, we now got some new ground here. We got Crowstar going to air where we got some space monkeys and some tallies on the way, while Ari's going to Woodman stage, where it looks a little clustered. Got some crushers hidden amongst the trees. And yeah, this is the airman you want to see. Airman is definitely one of the more dangerous stages to go through under most circumstances, because you can get a lot of rude enemies that can slow you down, put you in danger of falling into pits. But we got space monkeys just pretty much lined up in your way. It's pretty much ease, as you see Treble Star just going through right now. It's all space monkeys from beginning to end. So this is a free airman stage for our runners to go through, as Ren Hero is about to find out as well. Meanwhile, Ari is going to be dealing with all the hot dog and all the nonsense on top of the treehouse. Once again, this is zipless, so there is no good wood performed in this race. Any kind of major zips will be counted for disqualification under these settings. And you kind of want to wish you want to skip all that stuff, because on top of the treehouse, we got some falling, raining crabs, but at least the bunnies are one shot. So Treble starts checking out his Robot Master, which happens to be Quickman, and it winds up having item 1. One of the randomized traits is definitely the items that you get, and at this point we have found all 3 of our items. Of course, amongst the items themselves, only item 1 has a randomized attribute, in which the length and the height of the item 1 is random, so it can go high very fast, very slow, or it can be stationary, or it can last for a very long time, or pretty much just go at an instant. Matt Billy keeping pace here as he goes to Quickman stage. Ari is about to see who's in the Woodman boss room, while Treblestar and Ren here are pretty much just keeping strive for strive with each other, pretty much with an even amount of Robot Masters on their way. And we got a Vanilla Woodman in the Vanilla Wood room, and he's Buster Softly, so yeah, Woodman's a breeze for Ari. As you notice, there's also some areas that have no ceiling in the boss rooms. This is because of the fact that in previous older randomizers, there are Robot Masters that actually get stuck on the ceilings thanks to the stage layouts for some of these boss rooms. And if you don't have a weapon that can actually reach them, you're basically in a soft lock state. So back then, specific boss rooms had their ceilings removed so you could actually, fight them and beat them. But yeah, we got Ari going to Airman. We got Troublestar going through on top of the treehouse, where he's dealing with the crabs and the rabbits, Ari using his item 2 to try to bypass a lot of the stuff in Airman stage. And Matt Philly trying to take revenge on Crashman and Quickman stage. But yeah, we got a whole bunch of stuff going on as things are happening with all 4 runners. We're gonna see if we can try to get the string going back up. Keep it going as we have some technical difficulties on the streams end. We're actually going to Heatman stage here. And for Heatman stage, this is usually one of the stages that you will come up towards the very end. It's either this stage or Crashman that are last, because you would like to have items for these stages. And since we all have items 1, 2, and 3, Crashman and Heatman stages are pretty much available for the taking. If this was hidden stage names, if you were to find these stages early and you have no items, then that's a bit of tough luck. But as you can see, Troublestar taking an unfortunate death in Heatman. These lag failures here pretty much show that we can fix the lag in the water. But yeah, as Ari follows in a pitfall of death behind Trouble, he winds up taking a little dip on his end. Trouble using item 2 to get by these lag failures. Ari using the leash shield, trying to negate some of the he's trying to pause buffer, but pause buffering is kind of difficult with the lag. But he's able to get by it as smoothly as he can given the circumstances. Troublestar decided to do Yogu's legit as he decided to use item 2 to get by those lag failures. Ren Hero also going through the stage straight. And we find ourselves a little bit of an extra bonus here. We find ourselves that the Buster is the wall weakness for the crash barriers. The crash barriers does have a randomized weakness. One of it can be Buster, which is very good because it gives free reign to whatever the Boo Beam can be weak to, which is now all weapons except for Flash. So once again, I apologize for any stream issues. Unfortunately, it's out of my hands, but I will continue to try to keep pace with all the action as it comes through. As we see Metal Man in Heat's room, who is Soft Buster Week as well. So we got Ari and Crumble just taking those stages out very swiftly. So Crashman being our last robot master here, once again, it's a situation where now we got all 3 of our items, so we can skip a whole bunch of nonsense that could be in this stage. And in this particular case, it looked like Chanking Makers are going to be the focus point for Crashman stage, because one of the things, if you're familiar with the randomizer, you know how things work in Crashman stage. For those that aren't familiar, I will explain right now. So in these, as you can see on Treble's screen, you see Chanking Makers in this moving platform room. Those were the exact first enemies that you see on Ren Hero screen. So if you know what's on the first screen of Crash's stage, you will almost